Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Evelyn. I really love using my YouTube channel to speak truth and be positive and just be vulnerable with you guys. And so this is definitely one of my more vulnerable videos. I'm going to kind of be sharing a little bit about some testimonies and things that God has been doing in my life and just being real with you and telling you kind of just more about those personal stories. I write in my life journal or Jesus journal, whatever you guys want to call it, and it's pretty much me being brutally honest with God. If I am in prayer time, if I'm hurting, if I'm going through something, if I feel something heavily, I write it in here without holding anything back. I just write what I'm feeling in here towards like me and God. This is just me and God. And so I love looking back on posts, talk about digital. I love looking back on my journal entries and just reading through what I've been through. I love reading and just seeing my past pain or my past situations and struggles, and then seeing like years later and reading it and thinking to myself like, wow, like God changed that. God took that situation. God just did so much, and I love being able to do that and just kind of seeing God working in my life in areas that like at one point almost like felt impossible, and now I can look back and say like God really did answer my prayer. So that's kind of what I want to do with this video. Does God answer our prayers? And the only way that I can kind of show you guys that he does is by showing you and sharing with you my story and how he answered mine. So I kind of wanted to share with you guys two entries that like just give me so much joy looking back on. So one of the biggest things that have been going on in my life the past few years is with my student financial situations. I graduated my university in around 2014, and that was one of the biggest loans I've ever taken out. I had no idea what I was doing, and in order to take that loan out, I had to get a cosigner. My mom wasn't able to do it because she didn't have good credit, so we had someone from our church sign it. Once again, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't realize this heavy burden was going to be put upon like this pretty much a stranger, and then later on how much it was going to affect me. Later on, it did affect me so much because this individual who signed it for me was overly stressed with the fact that like someone that he didn't really trust like had so much power on his credit, which was very stressful for me and my family. We didn't have enough money to pay back all of the bills that my loan was like billing to me, and thank God I never missed a payment. Like there was ways that I was able to defer it and all of these crazy things, and it was just such a long story, guys. It almost felt so hopeless. I thought I was gonna be stuck in this situation trying to like get out of this loan or eventually have terrible credit and not have any money to pay it. And so in these few years, all I've been focusing on was trying to refinance this loan and apply to other banks to just get this cosigner completely gone because it was creating so much stress in his life and in our life. So a year ago, July of 2017, I wrote, "My life sometimes feels a mess. And at this moment of my life, I feel like hope is super hard to have. Financially speaking, I feel hopeless. But God, I know that you're always there and you always make a way. You gave me friends and relationships when I thought that that was impossible. And I know that he will do the same now. But in this very moment of me seeing this loan and not being able to refinance because we don't have enough money, we don't have any way of releasing my cosigner, or I can't even find a job that will allow for me to be approved. I still want to do other things like travel and get married, and I feel that because of this, I'm never going to have a solution. All of this feels impossible." And so kind of the backstory to that was that while I was trying to refinance, every single bank that I was trying to apply for would deny me because I didn't have strong enough credit. My mom didn't have strong enough credit. And finally, and guys, this is like years of processes, like of signing and getting not approved, and after a year passed of my mom trying to like fix her credit so she could co-sign, she finally had a strong enough credit, and they still denied us because we didn't make enough money. We had to make a certain amount per year in order for us to get approved. So there was another obstacle. And so at that moment of us literally waiting a year just to fix our credit, they denied us again. And in that moment of just feeling hopeless, like I felt like, how am I ever going to make this amount of money if my mom can't even make this amount of money? And I just felt stuck in the situation. And it was hard because I felt like I had to ignore this really big issue that wasn't only affecting my family, but was affecting someone else's family and their credit score. And that's a big deal. And so it almost felt hopeless. I had no idea how this was gonna happen. I loved my job that I had at that time, and I was like, how am I supposed to get a new job? Am I going to have to get a job that I really don't want to do and just try to make a bunch of money in order to get this released? And it honestly just was a huge mess. And honestly, it's so cool to see what God does. Today is a year later, and I just want to say, like, God is so good. He fixed everything. He literally made what once felt impossible and completely just handled the situation for me. A year later, guys, I have a job, a full-time job that pays the amount that I needed to be approved that refinancement. My credit alone was enough to get approved as well. And so me by myself, with what I make and my credit score, I was able to get a refinancement approved, and this person that had co-signed is officially off of that and has freedom from all of this. And literally, guys, that is an answered prayer. That is something that I never thought was going to happen. I never thought I was going to be able to make that much, but God just knew that He was going to get it done. And that is so cool. Like, guys, I don't even know how to put into words how thankful I am that God can do things like that. That at one point, this problem felt so big, felt so impossible. 3 years later, like, still nothing was ever resolved. And then all of a sudden, you know, God did His thing and He made it happen. Having faith in God makes all of the difference. Even though I was feeling all sorts of crazy, sad, hopeless, like, I knew that somehow God was going to fix it, and He did. He answered those prayers. And so that was just one that I wanted to share with you. Another one that He also did was before all of this actually happened. This is back in 2014, guys. I moved to Orlando in 2012 for college. And that whole transition from moving from another city to another city, kind of transitioning from high school to being an adult and all that stuff, was pretty hard on me when it came to finding a church. I grew up in the same church back in Miami, so I knew people. I had a home where I felt comfortable. When I moved to Orlando, I kind of was on my own, and I definitely wanted to continue in, like, knowing God and discovering Him, and I wanted my own church, but that was really hard to find, especially on my own. Like, I didn't have family in Orlando. I didn't know anybody. This was all me. And so it was definitely pretty tough, like, to find people in a church in itself where I felt comfortable. And so for a long time, one of my biggest struggles was, like, even when I found churches where I felt comfortable, and I never really met people that I was comfortable with, and I was too shy or too insecure. Just a lot of things happened where I just never had friendships that I really desired at that time with people who had a like-minded heart for God. And so that definitely was really hard for me, because I wanted to be surrounded by people who were going to motivate me spiritually, and I always just felt so spiritually lonely. And so in 2014, I wrote, "Sometimes I just want to talk to you, God. So I guess writing in here is going to count. I feel so sad right now. I want to surround myself with people who share my love for you, but sometimes that just feels so impossible. I'm so in love with you, and I just want to be able to share that with someone." And so that was just something that was really hard for me because of a lot of insecurities and things I was personally going through, and I didn't even know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to step out of that comfort zone. And so for the longest time, I was just surrounded by schoolmates and coworkers and people that just didn't share my faith. And for me, that was really, really hard. And I desired to have that friendship with someone to be close with, someone to just share that with. And so again, another moment where I just felt hopeless, and that was my prayer. And that was actually for a few years. I moved here in 2012. That was 2014. I still didn't have what I was praying for. But a year after that, guys, in 2015, I started going to this church. I got plugged into a small group, and I met some of my closest friends in that small group, and God answered another prayer. Something that once felt impossible, once again, God answered that prayer. And I was surrounded not only with people who shared like that faith, but people who desired to share that with me. People who were bold, people who loved God, people who worshiped fearlessly. And it was just such a strong shift in like where I had nothing of like even close to that, to the complete opposite of people who wanted to be there with me, who wanted to worship with me, who wanted to talk about God, who challenged me to step out of my insecurities. And God answered my prayer beyond what I even thought I needed or wanted, and that was so good. And to this day, he continues to add people like that in my life. I am so thankful. I am so blessed that God continues to surround me with people who have a heart for him and strengthen me every single day to get closer to him and give me confidence. Even like this video, my whole like spiritual journey and confidence, and the fact that I can even do this and talk to you guys about like my faith with confidence is because God is continuously surrounding me with people who love him and give me the confidence to do so. And that is an answered prayer. God is so good, guys. If you are struggling with believing that God isn't answering your prayer, I want to tell you guys, it may take years. It may take forever. But God answers prayers if it is in his will. And it's hard to believe that, and it's hard to have faith and hold on to that in those hard moments where you feel like there's no solution, there's no hope, you're just stuck in this darkness. But I just want you guys to hold on to the fact that in God's time, he will answer that prayer. And he's there the whole time. He's there this whole time that you're struggling. He's there the whole time that it feels hopeless. He's there alongside you, like making it all better. You just have to remind yourself that. There's a few verses that I kind of wanted to read, because my biggest issue with all of these moments that I was struggling with, like my hope, was that I didn't have peace in these moments, because although I knew that God was there, I felt alone. And so I just wanted to remind you guys, there are a few verses out there that do talk about trusting in God. Psalms 56:3. But when I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. Psalms 23:4. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect me and comfort me. Psalm 55:22. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. And the verse I want to share with you about prayer is 1 John 5:14. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. God hears our prayers, guys, and I want to encourage you that he's there alongside with you, listening to every prayer, listening to your desire, and in any situation, even how hard it may feel or how hopeless it may feel, he's there right beside you. And you just have to hold on to your trust, to your faith, and have peace that he is there with you. And so I really hope that my testimony and my story could help you guys. I would love to read more journal entries later, so let me know if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on my social media. I will link all that down there so you can follow along on my stories. I post there more frequently. And I hope that you guys have a great week. See you on the next video. Bye!